Hello, welcome to the Learn English Lab. Today's podcast is The Hidden Skill of Self-Correction in English. And welcome back. Today, we're not going to be talking about, memorizing verb charts or the top 100 idioms. We're going to zero in on something much more subtle. I'm talking about that one moment, it happens in a split second, where you're in a conversation, you start to say something, and you actually hear the mistake as it's leaving your mouth.
And you stop yourself.
You stop, you fix it, and then you just glide right back into the conversation.
That moment right there, that tiny instantaneous correction, it's a much bigger signal of fluency than, say, a perfect score on a grammar test. It really is.
Absolutely. It means you've developed something internal, a mechanism for checking your own work.
We call that an internal editor.
The internal editor.
Yeah.
I love that term. And it's probably the most underrated skill in learning a language. I mean, think about anyone you know who speaks English really, really well.
Right.
They all have this. They've built this vigilant little editor inside their head that's always running, always listening.
It's like a quality control system that runs in the background. It's constantly checking your output, and if it spots an error, it hits the brakes and makes a quick fix, all without you needing a teacher to point it out.
And that's exactly our mission for this deep dive. We're going to pull back the curtain on this internal editor. We'll look at the psychology behind it, the stages you go through to build it, and then
The practical stuff.
the actual strategies you can use to train your editor and really, transform your path to fluency. So let's start with a clear definition. When we say self-correction, what are we really talking about?
At its core, self-correction is the ability to find and fix your own mistakes in real time, in your speech, in your writing, and the key part is without anyone else telling you.
So it's about becoming autonomous.
Exactly. And it's not just about being grammatically perfect. That's not the goal. The editor's main job is to make sure your message gets across clearly and appropriately. It's about successful communication first and foremost.
I think the simplest examples really show its power. Like the one every learner makes with irregular verbs. You're talking fast, and you might say something like, yesterday I went to the store and bought
some milk. Yep, that's a perfect example.
Right.
Your brain's first instinct was to use the normal rule, the E rule, but then the monitor, that internal editor, flagged it instantly. It said, nope, that doesn't sound right, and it swapped in the correct form, bought.
And it happens in a fraction of a second. It's not like you're pausing to think, what is the past tense of buy? It's just automatic.
It is. Which brings up a really crucial point. This editor isn't just one tool. It's more like a full toolkit. And it works on a few different levels.
Okay, so it's not just about grammar.
Not at all. We generally see it working across 4 main areas, and you kind of have to train each one a little differently.
Let's break those down. What's the first, most basic level?
The first is phonological correction, which is really just a fancy way of saying, fixing the pronunciation.
It's the actual sounds.
The sounds, the word stress, the rhythm. You might be trying to say a word and you put the emphasis on the wrong syllable. Like, I need to find the line, a B-R-Y, no, the library.
Right. You hear yourself say it wrong.
You hear it and it just sounds off because you have the correct sound stored in your memory. Your mouth just didn't quite get it right on the first try, but your ear caught it. That's the editor working on sound.
Okay, so that's level 1. The second is probably the one most people think of.
For sure. Grammatical correction. This is the nuts and bolts. Verb tenses, prepositions, subject-verb agreement, all that good stuff.
Like saying, she doesn't like coffee.
That's the classic one. Your brain defaults to don't, but the editor catches that the subject is she and immediately enforces the third-person rule. It shows the rule is truly internalized, not just something you can recite from a book.
Okay, so we have sound and grammar. What's the next level up? This is where it gets more interesting, I think.
It really does. The third level is lexical correction. This is all about word choice.
So, not fixing a mistake, but upgrading a word.
Exactly. You're trying to be more precise, more impactful. You might say something like, the movie was good. Actually, you know what? It was phenomenal.
Good wasn't wrong. It was grammatically fine.
Perfectly fine. But your editor flagged it as weak. It didn't match the level of your feeling, so it prompted an upgrade. This is what advanced learners work on, moving from words that just work to words that are perfect for the moment.
I love that. It's about adding color, not just correctness. So what's the fourth and final level?
This is the most complex. It's called pragmatic correction, and it's all about adjusting your language for the social context, for your audience.
Managing a register, formality.
Right, because you can be 100% grammatically correct and still be completely inappropriate for the situation.
Can you give an example?
Imagine you're asking a senior colleague for help. You might start off too casually, like you're talking to a friend. Hey, would you mind helping me with this report?
That's a huge shift mid-sentence.
Uh,
From a direct, almost command-like structure to a very polite, indirect question.
And that shift shows an incredible level of social awareness. The editor recognized a mismatch between the language and the social hierarchy of the office, correcting that. That's a sign of real sophistication. It's about managing relationships, not just words.
That makes so much sense. So it's not enough to train for grammar. You have to train for sound, for word choice, and even for social situations.
If you want to achieve comprehensive mastery, yes, you have to train the whole toolkit.
So, okay, that breakdown is incredibly helpful. But I think a lot of us are still wondering, how does this even work? I mean, speaking feels so immediate. You think a thought, the words just come out.
I know, it really does feel that way, but that feeling is, well, it's a bit of an illusion. What's actually happening under the hood is this incredibly fast, overlapping set of processes.
That's a cognitive juggling act.
That's a perfect way to describe it. It's not a straight line from thought to speech. There are basically 3 stages happening almost all at once.
What are they?
First, there's conceptualization. That's the what. What's the message I want to send? The idea, the intention.
Okay, the core idea.
Then comes formulation. This is the how. Your brain selects the right words, the vocabulary, and builds the grammatical structure, the syntax, to house that idea.
And the last step must be actually saying it.
Right. Articulation. That's the motor stage. Sending the commands to your tongue, your lips, to make the actual sounds.
So what, how, and saying it.
You got it. Now, the magic part is that running alongside that whole process, like a parallel track, is your self-monitoring system, your internal editor.
The quality control department.
The quality control department, exactly. It's constantly taking little samples of what's coming down the assembly line, checking them against what you intended to say and, the rules of the language.
So it's double checking everything in real time.
It is. And this check can happen at 2 different points, which is a really important distinction for learners.
Okay, tell me about the first one.
The first one is called covert monitoring. This is the gold standard. This is when your editor catches the mistake before you've actually said it.
So you hear it in your head first.
Yes, your inner ear hears the mistake during the formulation stage, and your brain basically hits the brakes before the word leaves your mouth.
That explains those tiny little hesitations you sometimes hear, even from native speakers. They'll start a word, pause for a millisecond, and then go a different direction.
That's it. That little micropause is the editor doing its job covertly, efficiently. It's a smooth repair that doesn't really disrupt the flow.
But then there's the other kind, the one that's a bit more obvious.
And that's overt monitoring. This happens when the mistake has already been made. It's out there. You've said it, and you literally hear your own voice saying the wrong thing.
So the sound travels back to your own ears, and that's what triggers the alarm.
Exactly. The BideBot example from before, that's classic overt monitoring. It's a bit slower, a bit clunkier, but it's still incredibly important.
It seems like for native speakers, this whole system is just... It's been fine-tuned over decades.
It has. A native speaker's editor has been trained on millions and millions of correct examples. It has this deep, intuitive sense of what sounds right. It's like a supercomputer running on a massive data set.
And for a learner, it's a completely different story.
Completely. A learner's editor is like a brand new computer with almost no data on it. It's trying to find patterns from input that might be limited or inconsistent, and it's also fighting interference from the rules of your first language.
So its database is just smaller, which is why it's slower.
It's smaller and less reliable. That's why that delayed recognition we'll talk about is so common. The system needs more time to search its limited files to confirm, yep, that was definitely a mistake.
So, and this seems like the most important takeaway here. Every time I manage to catch my own mistake and fix it.
You're not just fixing one mistake.
I'm upgrading the whole system.
You are feeding it a crucial piece of clean, correct data. Every single act of self-correction is a powerful, self-directed training session. You're literally strengthening the neural pathway, making your editor faster and more intuitive for the next time.
I think we have to talk about the psychology of this, though, because there's this huge barrier for so many learners, this idea that you have to be perfect, the myth of errorless speech.
Oh, that myth is so damaging. It's the enemy of progress. It creates so much anxiety.
So let's just say it plainly.
Fluency does not mean you never make mistakes, period. If you actually record and listen to native speakers, especially when they're talking spontaneously, not reading a script.
They mess up all the time.
All the time. They stumble, they backtrack, they start sentences they don't finish. It's perfectly normal.
So the difference isn't that they don't make errors, it's how they handle them.
It's the quality of the repair. That's why the goal shouldn't be perfection, which is impossible. The real goal should be what we call resilient speech.
Linguistic resilience. I like that. What does that mean in practice?
It means you can keep the conversation going. You can make a mistake, notice it, fix it gracefully, and not let it derail the entire communication. The listener barely even notices the hiccup.
I think that business presentation analogy you mentioned is perfect for this. Let's walk through that. Speaker A.
Right, so speaker A is the perfectionist. They've memorized their entire speech. The first 10 minutes are flawless. Perfect grammar, perfect pronunciation.
But then comes the Q&A.
Then comes the Q&A, and someone asks a question they didn't prepare for, and they have to create a sentence on the spot. And what happens?
They freeze.
They freeze, because their whole strategy is built on avoiding errors. When faced with the possibility of making one, their system it short circuits. They have no recovery strategy.
Speaker B. The resilient one.
Speaker B sounds more natural from the start. They might make a few small mistakes, a wrong preposition here or there, but they catch them. They say in Monday's meeting, and just keep going.
So when they get that tough, unexpected question,
they don't panic. They might take a breath. They might use a little phrase to buy time, like, that's a great question, let me think for a second. So what you're asking is...
They're managing this situation.
They are managing it. And even with a few small errors, they come across as more confident, more competent, because they have mastered the art of recovery. For them, an error is just a little bump in the road, not a total catastrophe.
The big takeaway, then, is that errors aren't failures. They're actually opportunities to learn in real time.
And when you embrace that, it takes so much pressure off. You stop trying to be perfect and start focusing on just communicating and recovering, which is a much healthier and more effective way to learn.
Okay, so if I'm listening to this and I'm thinking about my own speaking, I need a way to figure out where I am on this journey. You said it's a progression, right? There are stages.
Absolutely. It's not like a light switch you just turn on. It's a muscle that you build over time, and it develops through some very clear, measurable stages.
Let's start at the very beginning. Stage 1.
Stage 1 is external dependence. At this point, you have no internal editor to speak of. The only way you know you've made a mistake is if someone else, a teacher, a friend, an app, points it out.
You just don't have the data inside your own head to check against.
Exactly. And the danger of staying here too long is that it creates a lot of anxiety. You're always looking at your conversation partner for approval, for correction. You can't trust your own output.
So what's the first sign that you're starting to move out of that stage?
That's stage 2, delayed recognition. And this stage can be, well, it can be really frustrating, but it's actually a huge sign of progress.
So what does it feel like?
It feels like you finish your sentence, you walk away from the conversation, and then 5 minutes later, it hits you. Oh, no, I said I am agree instead of I agree.
Ugh, yes, that delayed cringe.
The delayed cringe, that's it, exactly. Your monitor is working, it's active, but it's slow. It recognizes the mistake, but way too late to do anything about it in the moment. The key here is not to get discouraged. That feeling is proof your editor is coming online.
So what comes after that? When does it start to get useful in a real conversation?
That's stage 3, real-time awareness. Now, your monitor is finally fast enough to catch the error as it's happening, or maybe just a split second before.
This is where you can actually fix it mid-sentence.
Yes, but the fix is often a bit clunky. It disrupts the flow. You can hear the effort. It's that classic hesitation like, I have been working on this project all day.
You can almost hear the gears grinding as the correction is made.
You can, and that's fantastic. It means you're actively fighting the error and winning, even if it's not a graceful win yet. The goal from here is to make that process smoother and more automatic.
Which leads us to the final stage.
Stage 4, seamless integration. This is the level of a highly proficient speaker, or a native speaker. The editor is so fast and so calibrated that the corrections are almost invisible.
It's mostly that covert monitoring we talked about.
Mostly. And when an overt correction does happen, it's so quick it just sounds like a natural part of speech. Like, we were going to go to the movies. The wrong word is barely out before the right one replaces it. There's no big pause, no drama.
And at that point, your conscious brain isn't even really involved.
Barely at all. It's become automatic. Your mental energy is freed up to focus on what you're actually trying to say. Yeah. The complex ideas, the nuance, the connection with the other person, that's the ultimate goal.
That roadmap is so helpful. I think anyone listening can probably place themselves in one of those stages, which leads to the big question. How do you get from, say, stage 2 to stage 3 or 4?
Right. It's all about target and training. You need to create exercises for yourself that force that feedback loop to get faster and faster.
Okay, let's get into the practical strategies. What's the number one thing you recommend?
The single most powerful tool is to record and review your speech.
Just take out your phone and use the voice memo app.
As simple as that. Talk for 2 or 3 minutes about anything. Your day, a movie you saw, anything. The magic isn't in the recording, though. It's in the review process.
What do I do when I listen back?
When you hear a mistake, let's say you hear yourself say, I go to the park. You have to pause the recording immediately. And you can't just think the correction. That's not enough.
You have to say it out loud.
You have to say the full correct sentence out loud. I went to the park. Say it 3-4 times with feeling.
Why is saying it out loud so important?
Because you're retraining the motor pathway. Speaking is a physical act. By vocalizing the correct version right after hearing the incorrect one, you are literally overriding the bad muscle memory with the good muscle memory. You're building a new, faster neural connection.
That makes so much sense. Okay, what's strategy number 2?
This one is about leveraging other people's feedback. I call it embracing the correction echo.
So when someone corrects me, instead of just saying, oh, thanks.
Right. Most people miss this golden opportunity. If your teacher says it's fewer people, not less people, your job is to immediately echo that correction back in a full sentence.
So I would say something like, right, there were fewer people at the meeting than I expected.
Perfect. By doing that, you're not just passively receiving the information. You're actively processing it and producing it correctly yourself in your own sentence. It cements the learning in a way that just nodding never will.
Okay, that's a great habit to build. The third strategy sounds a bit more systematic.
It is. This is about being a detective about your own mistakes. It's called Develop Error Awareness Categories.
So keeping an error journal.
Exactly. For a week, just jot down the mistakes you catch yourself making. Very quickly, you'll start to see patterns. Maybe it's always prepositions, or maybe it's always that third person's.
And once you know your personal pattern,
you can use a technique called conscious priming. Before you go into a conversation or meeting, you give yourself a quick mental reminder, just one thing. Okay, watch out for prepositions.
it's like giving your editor a specific mission for that conversation.
It is. You're focusing its attention. At first, it's a very conscious effort.
Yeah.
But if you keep priming that one category, eventually the monitoring for it becomes automatic and you can move on to your next personal pattern. It's a very strategic way to automate the process.
I love that. Super targeted.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, strategy 4.
This one is all about building flexibility. It's called practice reformulation exercises.
Meaning?
A resilient speaker always has a plan B. If your first attempt to say something is clumsy or wrong, you need another way to say it, ready to go. So you practice this. Take one idea and find 3 different ways to express it.
Let's use an example. A common mistake might be, the meeting was canceled because of the boss was sick.
A classic error. So reformulation 1 is the simple fix. The meeting was canceled because the boss was sick.
Okay.
Reformulation 2 changes the structure more. They canceled the meeting due to the boss's illness. Uses a prepositional phrase instead.
And a third way.
Could be an adverbial clause. Since the boss was sick, the meeting was canceled. By practicing these different routes to the same meaning, you give your brain multiple pathways to choose from in a real conversation. If one gets blocked, you can instantly pivot to another.
It's building agility. Okay, finally, you mentioned these special phrases we can use.
Yes, the monitoring phrases. These are the tools that make your corrections sound smooth and sophisticated instead of awkward. They're not signs of weakness, they're signs of precision.
So if I say something and realize it wasn't quite what I meant,
You'd use a phrase like, what I mean is. Or maybe, let me rephrase that. For example, we finished the project. What I mean is we finished the first phase of the project.
and what if I just use the wrong word?
Then you can use, or rather, the CEO was angry, or rather, he was disappointed. It signals you're upgrading to a more precise term.
What about the really quick casual ones?
For that, actually, is perfect. I moved here in 2018, actually 2019. And a more polite one is, I should say, for example, his idea is bad. I should say, his idea has a few challenges we need to address. Using these phrases turns a mistake into an act of clarification. We've focused a lot on the output, on the speaking itself, but we have to talk about the input because the quality of your editor depends entirely on the data you feed it.
Right. You can't correct a mistake if you don't even know it's a mistake in the first place.
Exactly. This is why extensive listening and reading are so non-negotiable. Your editor builds its sense of what sounds right from the thousands of correct sentences you absorb.
And this is why just reading from a textbook isn't enough.
It's really not. Textbooks give you the clean, sanitized version of English. To build a robust editor, you need exposure to the real thing. Messy, fast, idiomatic English from podcasts, movies, novels. That's the data that truly calibrates the system.
Is there a way to make that listening more active, to specifically train the editor?
There is. When you're listening to a podcast or an audiobook, pause it occasionally and try to predict what the speaker will say next or how they'll structure the next phrase.
Oh, that's interesting.
When you guess right, you reinforce a correct pattern. When you guess wrong, the surprise of hearing the actual correct version creates a very powerful learning moment. It's like getting immediate personalized feedback from the material itself.
Let's talk about the difference between writing and speaking. The editor must work differently in those two contexts.
The biggest difference is time. With writing, you have the luxury of time. You can go back, revise, polish. The editor can be very slow and meticulous.
So how can I use my writing practice to help my speaking editor?
The best trick in the book is to read your writing out loud. When you read it at a conversational pace, your ear will catch things your eye missed. Awkward phrasing, clunky rhythm, things that only become obvious when you hear them.
And for speaking, where everything is happening in the moment.
2 things. First, practice think aloud when you're alone. Just narrate what you're doing. Okay, I'm opening the fridge, I'm looking for the milk. It's low-stakes practice in real-time monitoring.
And the second thing?
Slow down. Strategically, when you know you're about to talk about something complex, just consciously slow your pace a little. That extra half second gives your covert monitor a much better chance to catch an error before it happens.
Before we wrap up the strategies, I really feel like we need to tackle some of the myths around this, the beliefs that hold people back.
Yes, let's debunk a few. What's the biggest one you hear?
Myth number 1. Self-correcting makes you sound less fluent. It interrupts the flow.
That is 100% backwards. A smooth self-correction is a sign of fluency. What really interrupts the flow is making a big mistake that confuses your listener or just freezing up because you're scared to be wrong.
Okay, myth number 2. You only need to fix the big mistakes, the ones that change the meaning.
Also dangerous. If you ignore the small mistakes, like a missing es on a verb, they fossilize. They become permanent ingrained habits that are incredibly hard to unlearn later. You have to train your editor to care about the details.
Myth 3. Native speakers don't self-correct.
Oh, they do. Constantly. We just don't notice it because they are so fast and so good at it. It's mostly covert. Self-correction is a fundamental part of how human language works for everyone.
And the last one, and this is a big one, this skill will just develop naturally if I listen enough.
Exposure is the fuel, but it's not the engine. You need deliberate practice like recording yourself and using the echo technique to actually build the skill of repair. Active practice is what separates slow progress from rapid progress.
This all really comes down to a shift in mindset, doesn't it?
It's everything. You have to start seeing your errors as data, not as failures. Each mistake is just a little piece of information telling you where your internal map of English differs from the real thing.
And if you see it that way, it takes the emotion out of it, the embarrassment.
It replaces embarrassment with curiosity. Instead of, I'm so stupid, it becomes, I wonder why my brain chose that word. That curiosity keeps you engaged and moving forward.
And it means trusting that little voice in your head.
Trust your wrongness detection. Even if you don't know the right answer, when you get that feeling that something you just said feels off, listen to it. That feeling is your internal editor trying to get your attention.
So as we bring this all together, it's clear that the path to real mastery isn't just about adding more words. It's about building this incredibly powerful internal system.
The benefits of investing in this skill just compound over time. It affects everything.
For one, you get accelerated learning. Every time you speak becomes a mini lesson, guided by you.
You also get a huge boost in confidence. When you know you can recover from a mistake, you're not afraid to make one. So you take more risks and you learn faster.
And the learning sticks better, right? Better retention.
For sure. An error you catch and fix yourself is far more memorable than one a teacher just points out to you. And ultimately, it leads to greater independence. You become your own teacher. You carry your improvement system with you everywhere you go.
So I want to leave everyone with a final thought to take away from this. The measure of your progress isn't about making fewer mistakes next week.
No.
It's about catching more of them and fixing them faster. That moment, that split second of recognition and repair, that is the true path to native-like proficiency. Your internal editor is ready. It's just waiting for you to start the training. If you found this deep dive useful, please remember to like, share, and subscribe to this YouTube channel.